All right, well, let's see how loyal Team MP is. Again, I don't know if I'm going to. Last night, Delete Laws had me come on as a guest. By the way, it's a little bit windy right now, so it may not hear me that well. Anyways, it's about 05:30 or so in Nevada. A little chilly, not as bad as it was a few days ago. I had a false alarm on the calf muscle. It was hey, Race Gas, what's up, brother? Early bird gets the worm, my man. So I had a little bit of a false alarm on my calf muscle. It was a MRI show that it is a strained sprain and not a tear. But I have torn it before, so it's probably like, they say that memory of the pain, but it was pretty bad. So I've been missing my workouts and still have not gotten my diet totally under control. So I've got about probably 12 to 15 pounds extra body fat. So I'm hoping a brisk walk and a little lawyer workout is going to help out today. So last night, Chili had me on his show to talk about reluctant prophet and about the defamation claim. And I was trying to explain the difference between public figure, private figure, defamation per se, libel and slander per se, which creates a presumption of damages when you make statements about someone, basically accusing them of a crime, like saying, hey, you kidnapped Lane Myers and therefore you're guilty of a crime. And the judge apparently is suing reluctant prophet in his private capacity, saying that that is a slander and libel per se statement. You have accused me of committing a crime, and my damages against you are presumed, and therefore you have to pay me damages. Now, I was trying to point out on the show last night that it's okay, Race Gas, it's all good. Lance the PI, good seeing you, Salty Buckeye, Auditors United, all you cool guys, Wolverine Transparency, right on. So I was just trying to point out that the judge still has a very difficult case to prove, in that he's a public figure. And because of that, he'll also have to show that the statements were made with malice. He doesn't get to the damages phase until he can prove that the statements were made with malice or a knowing, reckless disregard for the truth. And of course, in my mind, if I'm on a jury, I'm thinking, well, reluctant prophet and guys like Lane Myers aren't lawyers. They're not trained attorneys. They don't understand the nuances. If somebody is taken out of a courtroom, falsely arrested by a judge, and then hauled off by one of the judge's agents, the law of vicarious liability would apply. And anything that happens to the defendant after that point was initiated by the court. And therefore, in my mind, I would think that was an unlawful arrest. And if I'm a reasonable person, an auditor or First Amendment guy like a Lane or a reluctant prophet, I'm thinking, well, that is kidnapping. And whether it meets the legal elements precisely, that's a matter of opinion. So I think there's a lot of issues here that Judge Ball is going to face, assuming reluctant Myers has decent legal counsel representing him. I would say it would be folly for him to represent himself. I think that he needs to find a really good First Amendment lawyer, attorney in Arizona to represent him. And there's many ways he could initially respond if he was in California or Texas. By the way, I'm only a California and Texas lawyer, so anything that we talk about with respect to Arizona isn't going to be 100% on the money what would happen in Arizona. But if I was in California, I would challenge jurisdiction. I would always specially appear to challenge jurisdiction. That's the first step, because you want to set up your record on appeal. But typically, the court's going to assert jurisdiction. So, you're not going to get out of it. But in the show with Chili last night, by the way, big shout out to Chili and Delete Laws. He is a really good legal researcher, and he really knows how to put together the facts. And so he presented some things to me that I wasn't aware of. And one of them, and by the way, I have a day job, so I didn't follow everything. I'm not glued to the TV screen like some people might be with respect to this particular case, but he pointed out that, by the way, I'm going to work out right now, guys. This is the lawyer workout, trying to get warm. I'm going to go to the park. I'm going to show you guys. There's no excuse to not exercise, to not work out, but I am in the red on the phone power, so if I lose you, I lose you, but I'll try to get as much in as I can and show you a little lawyer workout routine for all you disgusting fat-bodied lawyers who make up excuses. If I can do it, you can do it too. Now, with that being said, Chili pointed out to me that there is a request for an injunction, and at the very beginning, I put the grounds for injunction. So if you look in the chat box, it says likelihood of success. These are the grounds. Judge Ball will have to demonstrate a reasonable likelihood of success on the merits, irreparable harm, and then a balance of the equities and a public interest. So first thing he's going to have to show is there's a reasonable likelihood that he's going to succeed in his defamation case against Reluctant Prophet. And that's going to be tough because Reluctant, in his own email to Reluctant Prophet, he makes admissions that Reluctant Prophet doesn't know certain things. And to prove clear and convincing evidence, it's almost at the same standard as the criminal standard. So it's clear and convincing evidence is right up there with the criminal standard beyond a reasonable doubt. So it's like very similar. When you're a public figure, you have to prove malice under New York Times versus Sullivan, that these statements were made maliciously. And that would mean that he knew that Reluctant Prophet knew beyond a reasonable, or clear and convincingly knew that the statements were false and that they were made maliciously, right? And so that's not going to be easy for the judge to prove. And so right there, that's standard one for the injunction. So the basis for his injunction, just so you guys know, is he wants to shut down Reluctant Prophet's YouTube channel. Now, to me, anytime I hear a story about a public servant wanting to shut down someone's speech, that makes me start thinking Fidel Castro, Communist China, or modern day Democrat Party, right? We think what they did with the, how they use social media. If you talked about the Hunter Biden laptop, they paid off all their buddies at the CIA and stuff to basically say it was a fake story. It was Russian. Now we all know that was a lie, that was made up. It was a scam. And so I immediately think that, like, oh boy, another deep stater trying to shut down speech, trying to silence the American people. So that's just me. That's what I started thinking. So that automatically has my feelers up. So he's trying to shut down Reluctant Prophet's YouTube channel. And that's scary to me. So that's the legal basis. He's basically saying that it's going to cause all kinds of harm if this guy is unable to continue having his YouTube channel. So the next thing, likelihood of success. So he's got to show that he's going to succeed on the merits, and he'll basically have to prove that his defamation case is going to succeed. And so it's basically a strategic lawsuit against public participation, right? So that's how that goes. The next thing is he'll also have to show that it would cause irreparable harm to his reputation or maybe to his person if this YouTube channel is allowed to continue going. The problem is there's already hundreds of other YouTube channels reporting on it. So, I mean, he'd basically have to play whack-a-mole, right? He'd have to shut down every single YouTube channel there is, right, guys? So that's a problem. And then he would have to show, and the court would want to balance the equities. So is there a compelling state interest in shutting down Reluctant Prophet's YouTube channel that outweighs the public interest in knowing about what's going on in the Arizona courtroom, and knowing what's going on with Judge Ball having Lane Myers escorted out of the court by court personnel, which ultimately resulted in what many believe was a false arrest of Lane Myers and a false imprisonment of Lane Myers, which, based upon several attorneys I've spoken to in Arizona, it absolutely did. There was no legal basis to incarcerate Lane Myers. And under the common law traditions of vicarious liability, the judge ultimately was responsible for Lane Myers being locked up. At least that's what a lot of lawyers are telling me. Again, Judge and everyone else, this is a statement of opinion. I'm not asserting that that's what you did, but it appears, and again, I'm not an Arizona lawyer, I can only tell you based on general legal principles that that's what it looks like. So to me, a reasonable person could deduce that that is a kidnapping, of course. And so that's why I believe that it will be very difficult for the judge to succeed on this request for an injunction, which is basically like a protective order to silence anyone who is saying something bad about what the judge did. But the next one would be, so the balancing of the equities, then there would have to be a compelling public interest beyond that in shutting down the channel. I'm telling you guys, this reminds me, the smell test, it's like something right out of like Fidel Castro or Venezuela, or this last presidential administration that's leaving office, trying to silence anyone using the courts, using your friends in Silicon Valley who disagrees with you or makes you look bad. That's how it makes me feel. It just doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound like what our founding fathers intended. Now, here is what the kicker is. Chili pointed out in his research, by the way, again, guys, give me a bunch of ones for Chili. Chili pointed out in his research that the trial judge, and this is not a justice of the peace based on what I've been able to deduce, this is actually like a superior court, like highly trained judge who's been on the bench since 2004. And this particular judge is a former Marine, combat vet. He's been on there since like 2004. So I think that if I was that particular judge, I would be thinking, wait a minute, this is crazy that a judge is trying to do this. And I would probably want to put those guys out there into some kind of a mediation to try and settle this case right away. Me as a judge, me personally, if I was on the bench, I would be like, what are you doing bringing this case, dude? Judges already have a terrible reputation in Arizona. By you doing this, you're making us look like black robe tyrants. You need to immediately settle this case and make this thing go away. And so that's kind of where I'm at with this. I think it's a real problem, and I think it's just going to get worse. So basically, that's kind of how that goes. Let me just take a look here at these comments, see what I got here. All right. You'll never be able to prove that because all the dominions that are beneath the judge will not disrespect him. Okay, all right. Hey, right on, Shyster. All right, so what we're going to do here, I'm going to do my normal routine. All right, so we made it to the park. So a little stretch. Looks like I got here a little too late. There's already a bunch of dogs here. So type in your questions as I get stretched. Now, I did push-ups yesterday, but so I got to heal up. But what I'll do is I'll just show you guys, because this is an example. Again, this is the lawyer workout when you can't make it to the gym. Yeah, I know it's going to be hard until the sun starts coming up, guys. But behind me is 2 slides that are tandem, side by side. I'm just going to show you a way that you can get some push-ups in. I'm not going to go super heavy on them. Let's check them out. I know, no bouncing while stretching. You're right. What's the matter with you? That was bad. If I do bounce, forgive me, because that causes a muscle reflex, which tightens your muscle, which can cause a tear. So that's right. What's the matter with you? Thank you. All right, so behind me you can see the jungle gym equipment, hopefully. See if I can zoom in on there. Let's get it. All right, make sure we got this going right here. Line that bad chicken up. All right, so the next step is the pull-ups. Now, because your back muscle is the second largest muscle group, you want to focus on your lats or your back, because the idea is we want to burn body fat while we're resting, whereas running is just going to tear down muscle and speed up your metabolic rate for about 3 days. Building muscle is a fat burning factory. Obviously, good nutrition comes into play. Obviously, I've been eating way too much sugar the last couple of months, so I'm about 10 to 15 overweight. But I know that with muscle, I can burn fat while I sleep without destroying my joints and my cartilage and my knees from running, just by building muscle. Plus, chicks dig muscle. Man, I'm hoping you guys saw that. Was I out of shot? Hold on. Hopefully I was in the shot. Give me a bunch of ones if you saw me doing pull-ups. Because that was an ass kicker. Hopefully you saw that. All right, cool. All right, so, by the way, guys, so, yeah, nuts and seed oils are toxins, absolutely. Sorry about that. My camera fell. Nuts and seed oils are toxic, no question about it. I do the Moroccan olive oil, and even that can be inflammatory. But, you know, I'll drink like a couple spoonfuls of that in the morning, because your body can live off of fat and burn fat as energy more efficiently than sugar. Once you spike your insulin, your body stores all the sugar you eat as fat for later use energy. So that's no good. All right, so the next back exercise we're gonna do is we're gonna get into, I know a lot about nutrition, guys. That's how I've been able to maintain a much more youthful appearance than people that are my age. That and exercise. So basically that's like a bent over row exercise. It's like a row exercise. Man, it's dark. All right. So what I'll do real quick is some flutter kicks. This is a great way to do your abs without, for you guys that are too heavy to do a regular setup or a crunch, you can just do flutter kicks like this. You can also do a variation like this. And then here we'll do a little bit of a little newaza warm up for judo. So I have a low back injury, so I can't, normally I would be able to touch my toes to the ground when I reverse, but sorry, that didn't work out. Just trying to give you guys some ideas, because even if you're old, there's no excuse to not do some stretching, to not do some kind of exercise. So there you go. That was like a light lawyer workout. Yesterday I took you through a dumbbell routine in my backyard, and today I just did a light lawyer workout, about a mile walk round trip to the park. And now I've done more than 99.99% of lawyers, and definitely more than most civilians my age. And I feel amazing because your body releases oxytocin and all these different chemicals, the same types of chemicals that your body would release when you have sex. So it's good stuff. Makes you feel good. Now, if you can see my chin, I got too much body fat. So a lot of people think, oh, I'll just go run or I'll go for a walk and I'll burn that off. No, no, you need to go on a high protein diet and take herb teas, water. I believe in vegetables. Life Under the Microscope has a different philosophy. He's all about 100% carnivore diet, which I'm looking at, and I'm going to give you a call later, Life Under, probably this weekend, because I want to talk about uric acid and some other issues that can cause kidney stones, which I got from doing the paleo diet, which is very similar to the pure carnivore. So, but yeah, I can drop 10 pounds a week, and it's usually just going to be water first, and get rid of this whole face fat thing just with eating, without even going to the gym. Most of you guys are just eating too much sugar, and it's in everything that you eat. The chemicals that they put in our food are poison, and that's why I'm an advocate and a proponent of creating parallel systems where we make friends with people who are into homesteading, having a family farm, homeschooling, so our kids don't get brainwashed by the Marxist-run public schools where they teach our kids to hate our founding fathers and to love democracy, which is mob rules in the current administrative state. And so this video today was very important because it covered an example of an actual judge who's trying to shut down someone's social media. And to me, just as an outsider looking in, that goes against everything that our founding fathers stood for. And I hope that Arizona, this judge that has the case right now, the new judge who has been assigned this defamation / injunctive case, who was a former Marine, takes a very serious look at that. My experience has been that Marines like me are idealists, and that's why we joined the Corps. And we took our oath to uphold the Constitution very seriously. And most of us, when we got out, found out that we were being lied to, but we still have the same ideals of God, country, and Corps. And if you want to read an example of that, you can take a look at Smedley Butler. Smedley Butler, who was a high-ranking Marine general, and he exposed the military-industrial complex in the deep state many years ago. So you can understand another thing that makes Marines different, and another reason why Obama and Sleepy Joe have focused so hard on destroying the traditional value system inside the U.S. Marine Corps, because they represent a non-patriotic view of America, the Marxist DEI view, which is the government has a duty to make everyone equal, whereas our founding fathers believe the government was supposed to create a level playing ground so we had the right to pursue happiness. Because not everybody wants to be equal or the same. We want individuality. Not everybody wants to wear a face diaper. So, back to, Smedley Butler, that's right, Wassa. And Wolverine Transparency, that's right. And Ghost Man, hoorah. It's called Equal Opportunity. That's right, that's what it's all about. Not everybody wants to be equal. So why do they need some Harvard administrator who worships Karl Marx trying to make them equal? Why do they need that? We're all God's children. God made some of us to be candlestick makers. God made some of us to be bakers. God made some of us to be Bill Gates. God made some of us to be Elon Musks. That doesn't mean they're greedy. That doesn't even mean they're bad people. Well, unless, of course, you're a tyrant like Bill Gates. But other than that, I think that was the message. So this particular case with Reluctant Prophet has alarm bells all over it. And I'm quite stricken that this case is emanating from Arizona, which traditionally is an open carry state and big on the Second Amendment, big on individual rights. And then I see this judge, based on my history of America, it's almost like the king trying to see the powder houses, right? It's a real freaking problem. So, hey, how's it going? So we got a couple people out here who get it. But I think it's a real freaking problem when you have a public servant trying to silence someone. And again, I'll support anybody who stands for their God-granted rights, whether it be Chili DeCastro or even Direct Meth, who does his best to try to discredit me and defame me whenever he can, and try to get me kicked off of Lane Meyer's channel and all that. Because if he was falsely accused of a crime, he's the first guy I would try and protect, because the mob doesn't recognize that, just like happened under Robespierre, the Great Terror, once the mob starts cheering for the death of your neighbor, soon that same mob will be cheering for your death. And we have a duty to look after one another and accept the fact that we're all different. And that doesn't make you a fake lawyer or a fake person because you stand up for someone who was falsely accused, like Chili. And I consider him to be a good guy. I think he's a great legal researcher. And I think he's learned a lot from what's happened. And so I would ask that people stop embracing the mob mentality and looking at how many followers someone has, how many subscribers someone has, and look deep into their messaging and their heart and see that they're pure of heart. And that is the message that I try and convey to you, is that I will stand for anyone, even if it's my enemy, if his rights that were granted by his creator are being violated, because the mob is fickle. And rest assured, they will come for you just as surely as they came for your enemy. And with that being said, I'm almost out of power, but I'll try to look at some of these questions. So let me see here. Let's just get this out there. I'm no fan of lawyers and doctors. Well, yeah. Well, neither am I, Sinful Toaster. That's why I became a lawyer. So people don't seem to understand is that if you don't like something, you change it from within. You can see what happens to people who try to change it from without. They have judges suing them. And do you really think that the judge is at a disadvantage when he's going before another judge with his own case? Most people would argue that that's an unfair advantage. Good seeing you, Dr. Donna. It's too easy to disconnect from me, it says. You're talking about millennials who are going to run the country. That's a shame, because the millennials have been completely brainwashed by the Marxist-run administrative, educational, industrial complex. And you will have no rights if a couple more Obama types get into office. It'll be a real problem. So how do we change it? Guys like you and I can get on here on YouTube and start talking about the powder houses, about why we had a revolution, instead of trying to say that, oh, all the founding fathers were racist and therefore the Bill of Rights doesn't apply because they were bad people, yada, 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 because that's the argument that the Marxist industrial complex is foisting upon America. So it's up to you. Now, there's only one truth, that's right. Right now I could say, it's sunny outside, right? That would be the typical Marxist argument. Well, it's sunny outside. To me, my truth is that it's sunny. But no, we all know that it's not. It's still dark. So, but that's the typical argument you'll hear from a college professor. And make no mistake about it, 80 to 90% of our educators are hardcore Marxist left. And they absolutely will do anything they can to trash our founding fathers any chance they get. Now, Swedish Observer, it's good to see you. Sinful Toaster, super happy to have you here, brother. Life Under, as always, loving it. Kinetic Customs, love having you. And Dr. Donna Walter's right. She says if we don't stand for others, there will be nobody to stand for us. And that's the point I'm trying to make. Is it just blows me away that guys like Direct Meth will try and trash me and say that I'm no good because I stood tall for a guy like Chili who was falsely accused, visited him in jail, and ultimately he got his case reversed on appeal. Direct Meth should be happy because that could very easily have been him, and I would have still stood tall for him as well. So, let's OTVO, really good seeing you, brother. I appreciate all you guys joining me this morning and taking some time to learn a little bit about your fundamental unalienable rights. Make sure to double tap that screen. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, and I'll try to get back to your questions later because I got to get to work. Make sure to like and subscribe because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. Semper Fi, do or die.